Hello and welcome to Pcgtv Sports Time with Jerome, where we bring you all the sporting conversations with the people who matter in the world of sports. And today we're going to have a very interesting conversation on a sport you probably have not thought of, but it is that sport which is putting Ghana in very good lights. We'll go for a break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest and we'll continue. Welcome back. For our scripture for the day, we go to Isaiah chapter 55 verses 6, where it is written, "Seek the Lord while you can find him. Call on him now while he is near." We are being admonished to look for God now and not when we cannot find him. God is always present with us, especially when we are in difficulties. Don't wait until you are in difficulties before you look for God. Look for God because he is nearer than you think. We go for a break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest. Welcome back. As I was telling you, today we are talking about a sport that is not so popular to many of our viewers, but it is one sport that has been putting Ghana in very good lights, and I'm talking about arm wrestling. Arm wrestling was the sport that put Ghana high on the medal table during the African Games, and today we are privileged to have the man who has been spearheading everything arm wrestling in Ghana. He wears many caps. He's the General Secretary of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. He's also the Vice President of Ghana Athletics, President of the Ghana Arm Wrestling Federation, President of Africa Arm Wrestling Federation, and Vice President of World Arm Wrestling Federation. I'm talking about Mr. Charles Osesibe, Elias the Barrister. Welcome to Pcgtv Sports.
Jerome, my pleasure. I'm happy to be home.
Sure.
So happy to be home. Somehow I've been part of this dream. Unfortunately, during the introduction, you didn't say I'm PCG.
No, I was going to come to that because on this show, we always start with matters of faith. And definitely when you said you are from home, I knew you were going to talk about PCG. For those who don't know, a lot of the guys in our sporting world are Presbyterians. And like Mr. Charles Osesibe was saying, he's a Presbyterian, a full-blooded one. I wouldn't want to do the talking for him. I would want him to tell us how deep he's been in the Presby circles. And then we continue from there.
Ooh, that's a tough one. But in brief, I'll say that I was born into the Presby Church. The early mid-70s in Dansuman, Sahara, I was among the first children's service group for the Emmanuel Presbyterian Church.
I see, Dansuman Presby.
So we started from Sahara and then moved to the new site. So I grew in the church from children's service, junior Y, YPG, YAF, and now men's fellowship.
Great.
So even in the church, at some point I became a teacher for the junior youth, junior Y.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated to YPG, I had to come teach at the junior Y, and then I moved on to YAF, and then now the men's fellowship. Apart from that, I've played various roles in the church, and some of us have been instrumental in the rebranding of Harvest.
I see. How?
So we used to call it Annual Harvest, but some of us initiated a move and said that Harvest idea was colloquial. So we needed to make it more spiritual. so that members out of their heart can give.
Yes.
So we changed it to Aseda.
Okay.
So if indeed you look at all that God has done for you and you want to give, you give more than the perception of harvests.
Okay.
So and these days I find a lot of Presbyterian churches doing Aseda.
Yes.
Onyame Aseda instead
Yes.
of harvest.
Yes. In my church last year, our harvest was titled Aseda.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we started this years ago, and now I see that a lot of the churches around. And your uncle is aware.
Well, I know. We will not go there. But you know, for me, I haven't known you so long.
Yeah.
But the little I've known maybe goes back to the late 90s, when some of you were in the media circles proper, especially at Pcgtv.
Sure.
That was when I got to know of you, and you've contributed so much to this generation of sports journalists. And today you are the general secretary, or like people say, the scribe for SWAG. How has the role been at SWAG? I mean, how has your work been at SWAG?
So before I talk about how difficult, it's not so smooth. So if you say role, I'll talk about the major challenges, how difficult it is managing people. But before I talk about that, before the 90s you spoke about, I had written for Graphic Sports.
I see.
So I was stringing for Graphic Sports, and then I worked with Radio Gold.
Okay.
From Radio Gold, I moved to Groove FM, now Adom FM.
Yes.
Groove FM was around Osu.
Yeah.
So that was where I worked with Keto Kreku.
Oh, interesting.
That was when we met.
Okay.
But I left Radio Gold before he went back to
I see.
Radio Gold. So from Groove, that was when one presenter called Michael Smith.
Okay.
He came to the studio one morning and said, "Chase, have you heard of this man? He wants to see you." He told me that despite there's a new radio station and the owner wants to see me. And I asked what for. Then he said they are looking for somebody who can speak fluent Twi, but I think you can do it. So I went to Peace. I met Father Dixon, who didn't believe in me at the time.
It's always like that.
Well, he didn't know, so
Yeah.
we had some engagements. After some interview, he realized I could do it. So at Peace, you would have to run script in English, but you present in Twi. You need to be flawless, so that every day after presentation, Efia Kunedu Yaotre and the rest, later Nananto joined.
Yeah.
They would call you and then mark your scripting or your presentation. Here you said Twi, this word, you said English, this word, this is how it's pronounced in Twi and all that. So within the period, it was also an academic period for me.
Yes.
Trying to mature in the Twi language.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, from what you are telling me, I can clearly see that the standards there were very high.
Very high, because
and I want to take you back to SWAG and what you have been doing, because you know, sports writers, sports journalists are often the talk of town.
Sure.
Especially when things do not go well. You know, people would always want to look at what we are doing and what they think we are not doing right. And that's why I want to know, how has SWAG been able to put that group of people called sports journalists in check? Not necessarily in check, but then to ensure that we are contributing meaningfully to the development of sports in the country.
So, Jerome, the worrying aspect is the occasional misbehavior of our membership, and the misconduct. Sometimes you need to manage, you don't have to fight.
Yeah.
But there's this proverbial pig proverb. Now, the pig asked the mother, "Why is your mouth big?"
Yeah.
Then the mother said, "Bye bye, you go grow."
Yeah.
One day you will get to this level and you understand why.
Yeah.
So when the key reason for which I became a member of SWAG, when I was on radio at Happy FM, I realized that journalists were somehow looked down upon by sports administrators. You would hear journalists being manhandled, being assaulted at games venue and all. And I said, this cannot happen. Then at the time on radio, I had Sports Scholars Association who would call into my programs and control the program.
Yeah, a lot of them.
We had Barbers Association and all. Then I said, look, I must also belong. So when I looked at all those things, I said, no, I need to belong to SWAG. Okay. I signed up. After 2 years, we're going into elections. I said, no, the vision I have for SWAG, I need to put together a team. So I remember in 2015, I put together all the executives.
I see.
Kwabna Eboa, Maurice Kwanzaa, Rosalind Amu, myself, William Eza, one Larry Boche. Yes, at the time.
Well, not to interrupt your flow.
And I had a reason for doing that.
Yeah, not to interrupt your flow, but I mean, from where I sit, this executive you talk of have done a good job over the course of, is it 8 years? I mean, a lot of work has been done. And one lovely aspect of what you have done, maybe I haven't told you this, it's not just organizing the awards and giving awards to sports personalities, I mean the athletes, but also those who write the stories about the athletes. When we go for a break, we'll go for a break. When we come back, Charles will continue. Welcome back. Before the break, Mr. Isibe was talking about SWAG and the executive he put together, and I came in to talk about the kind of work the executive has done over the course of 8 years. I think we will leave the SWAG story because, I mean, to tell you the truth, a lot has been done. And if we are to stay on that course, maybe we'll finish the show with...
Well, I just have to use PCG to encourage young sports journalists, either in school or practicing, to belong to SWAG, because SWAG is the umbrella body for every sports journalist. Fortunately, the only region outstanding is Central Region, and on the 1st of this month, we're going to inaugurate Central Region.
That's great.
So we are encouraging everybody to belong to SWAG.
That's great. And I will tell you, if you are on the SWAG platform, you will see that it is not an easy place to be.
But you have comported yourself.
Oh no, I don't have a choice.
Yeah, you have comported yourself.
I have to keep to that.
It's a platform where people speak their minds, and it's interesting.
Yes, I like the environment. Only that sometimes we have to tame the tensions. But tell me, how did arm wrestling then come into the picture? Because from the days I started listening to you, it was mostly football. And then one day we woke up and there was arm wrestling. And to tell you the truth, I'm sure you've heard this story many times. Not many people believed that where you've put arm wrestling today, you could do it from the start. True or false?
Well, it is true. People will call. What is in it for you? Why are you doing this? You're wasting your time. But I was challenged because as a journalist, I always would put pressure on leadership for things I feel they are not doing right. So I worked as events manager and later became general manager for Happy FM, and monitoring events and all that. Having served Ghana basketball under Peter Podogbe.
Oh, I see.
Served weightlifting with Ben Nunu Mensah, boxing with Moses Fuamweni, athletics with the late N.A. Ajintete. I asked myself, and I was doing women's football too. So I asked myself, how can I influence sports development? So I had three choices. I had tug of war, I had arm wrestling, and then I had draft, dummy. I did my checks and I decided to do arm wrestling. So I went around doing arm wrestling events. I realized people were interested because it's a traditional sport. Back in the days, it was the only way to determine the strongest in the community or in school. So I realized people were interested. I did a number of events nationwide. Then I engaged the National Sports Authority to regularize it. After checking what we had done, they certified us to become a federation. Same year we signed up to Africa, same year we signed up to the world. Then development began.
And that for me has been a quick rise, because I mean, normally I know some sporting federations here who are still struggling, but yours appears to have had quite a sharp rise within a very short time.
I had lost my job, so I had time for this. I had lost my job then. Okay. And you see, God works in mysterious ways. If I had not lost my business, Jerome, I was wealthy. God had blessed me so much.
Yeah, I know.
But when I lost the business, arm wrestling saved me, because it took my attention off the business. So I had to dedicate time and resources to ensure it becomes the brand I want to build, because I had put pressure on leadership for the way they do things. So it was a challenge for me to do things better.
Tell me about the training, because I mean, for any sport to start, even if it's football, which is very common here, you still need coaches, you need players, you need equipment. How have you been able to raise, I don't know whether we call them wrestlers or players?
Pullers.
Pullers, okay. How have you been able to raise the pullers? The last time I spoke with you, months ago, we were talking about referees, how you've trained referees to the extent that some were even competing at the international level. How has it been like?
It's not been easy, but one thing I told myself was that I shouldn't grow alone. I must grow with a team. So all the guys I started working with currently either are serving Africa or the world. My technical director is the only African on the world's referees panel.
Wow.
There are 11 of them all over the world.
And he's a Ghanaian?
He's a Ghanaian.
Okay.
My vice president is my 2IC at Africa.
Oh, okay.
A Ghanaian is the head of the media committee. So these are the things I have done. And occasionally I'll bring expert trainers into Ghana to come and train both coaches, referees, and then the pullers themselves. So over the period, consciously, now Ben Kofi taught me something as a football administrator.
Yeah, Ben Kofi
he developed a product, former
GFA
president.
Yeah.
He developed a product called Training of the Trainer program. So every time I would also bring experts to come and enhance the capacity of the trainers. That's how come we have quality pullers all over.
Okay.
So I train my referees, I train my pullers. I'm going to go to the World Championship. I'm going with 3 referees. I want to give them that exposure at the world level. And in Africa, the best referees today are Ghanaians.
From Ghana. Wow, that's opposite what exists in our football. But I mean, we are not talking about football today. What of the equipment?
It is not expensive, but difficult to acquire.
What makes it difficult to
so
acquire?
Plus and minus, a table and a riser will be less than $2,000.
I see.
Unfortunately, if you have to ship and get it out of the port, you pay same. Okay. So what I decided to do, initially I brought in about 4-5 tables, and then I began fabricating tables locally.
Okay.
So if I get Mr. Jerome to support my event, I take a bit of the money and then secure a table out of the event we're putting together.
Okay.
So for every event, I was fabricating tables out of what will come.
Is there an arm wrestling league in the country? How do the pullers get competitive before the international games? I mean, we'll come to the international games.
So I feel that we are one of the most organized federations in the country. Currently, we have 22 products. If you go to the FA, they have the Women's Cup, the FA Cup, Division 1 and all that. Yeah. We have 22 products.
In what category are they? I know there are schools.
Yes, so that is one. So even at the tertiary level, I have 2 concepts.
Okay.
I have the campus rumble and then the tertiary battle.
Okay.
So these are 2 concepts.
And
we have the inter-gym war. We have the security services battle.
Okay.
We have the league itself. We have the national championship. We have the community battles. I have something I call bring your match.
Okay.
So
Bring
the
your match is what?
PCG, if I have some grudge with you, or if you brag too much, I'll tell you, Jerome, Charlie, let's go to the table.
Okay.
So the bring your match concept, we take it everywhere. We can take it to the church. We can take it to the social grounds. In fact, we started this bring your match concept at the night sports. So all we do is to advertise. If you have a friend who brags too much, bring the person to the sport.
So
we put a table
so
there.
that we show our strength.
And I saw this concept
table.
in Holland. Yes.
Okay.
The hotel I checked into had a table at the reception. Every Friday evening, they will play arm wrestling. In fact, at that level, they were gambling.
Oh, okay.
At that level, they were gambling.
I get that.
So it's not been easy, but we've created a lot of concepts to encourage participation. It's a popular sport. Otherwise, but for the imported tables, you can play arm wrestling on any flat surface. You can play with your wife.
Yes.
You can play with your kids.
Yeah.
It's a family sport.
And I will always be the winner because I'm sure I'm stronger than them. We are going for a short break. When we come back, we are going to go international and look at the success stories of Ghana Arm Wrestling. Welcome back. If you had followed the African Games, you would have seen that at some point Ghana was trailing on the medals table. But overnight, Ghana became more like a leader at some aspects of the table. And that was all because of Ghana Arm Wrestling, the team that we paraded. What was it with our team such that they were winning almost every competition, such that at the close of the African Games, we had 40 plus medals?
Jerome, the advantage of having Ghanaians occupy top positions in sports administration on the continent or at the world. So by the virtue of the fact that I am a Ghanaian and the fact that the Africa Games was being hosted by Ghana, I pushed to ensure the arm wrestling becomes a sports code. I'm sure if any other country was going to host, Ghana wouldn't have even pitched arm wrestling.
Why?
Well, people didn't believe in it.
Okay.
So I used my position as a head of Africa to galvanize support within UCSA and the member countries that play the sport, because they also wanted to play.
So your point
I
is
traveled to Egypt.
Okay, so your point is that the arm wrestling was not part of the games?
It wasn't.
Oh, I see.
It wasn't.
This is news to me.
So I did engagement with the minister and the LOC, and they asked us to come and do a presentation. People from AU, UCSA, and all had come, and all the disciplines that did presentation at the first time. When we broke for coffee break, 4 officials from AU and then 1 Ghanaian, all of them came to me and said, "Congratulations, your presentation was good."
I see.
So then I knew arm wrestling would be considered. Okay. When they did the announcement, arm wrestling was the first sport.
Wow.
There were issues. They had to do the technical meetings again. We engaged. Arm wrestling found its way. Because I had told the sports minister that if you push, I will ensure that you win nothing less than 20 medals. And I had been consistent.
But I have to commend you because, I mean, it wasn't just your position. It was about the quality of the presentation you put out there, which was persuasive enough. You know, sometimes people would say, "Oh, he used his position to get it," but
no. But
here,
if you're a leader,
it was more about what you presented
if
than
you're
the position you occupied.
The people who took the decision were not Ghanaians.
Yeah.
And when they saw what we had presented, they were amazed. And they said, arm wrestling can be in there. All they needed was for 5 countries to confirm participation.
In the
we had 17 countries, but I said no, only 10 can play. If I allow more, we won't win the number of medals we want to win. So that's why I'm saying that it's important to have your people. And before the Africa Games, arm wrestling had amassed a total medal haul of about 247 in 5 years. So we knew our strength in Africa, and we knew we were going to win. Our only threats would have been Nigeria, Egypt, and maybe South Africa. Mali and the rest were so sure, yes, they will pick 1 or 2 medals, but we'll win. But I remember the night when the games started, I had a call from the minister. He was at the presidency, and His Excellency was worried. So the minister called me and said he was with His Excellency and that the old man wants to be sure whether Ghana would win medals. Then I said, don't worry. He who laughs last laughs the best.
Yeah.
Arm wrestling will come good. Athletics will come good. And I remember in modesty, I said 15.
Yeah.
His Excellency wasn't sure. The minister didn't believe.
Yeah.
But I said, give me what I want and I'll give you a minimum 15 medals. And I was consistent with the 15. So the night before, on the 14th, during the setup, I sat on the floor and at some point I was crying.
Why?
So I didn't know whether it was tears of joy or fear. So first of all, finally, arm wrestling had been made part of the Africa Games. Looking at the setup and the work that was ongoing. Then the second reason for my cry was the fear. So I began asking myself, will I be able to win these medals? Because I had promised. Nigeria had come, Egypt had come, South Africa had come, Madagascar had come. These are strong countries in arm wrestling.
Who probably started years ahead of Ghana.
Yes. So I remember on the morning of day 1, on the 15th, when my team came, I saw them at the foyer. I asked them to wait for me. I grouped all of them. I wanted to give them a pep talk and I was crying like a baby. Then the female captain from Ghana Police Service, she said, President, we know your worries. You have suffered for us. We will not disappoint you.
And on the first day, you won 6 or 7 medals?
We won 21.
21?
Yes.
Wow.
The minister, there was a retreat at Pediasi, and that day, internet was down.
Yeah.
We would have trended badly.
Yeah.
Internet was down. So people were calling the minister, telling him, look, arm wrestling is winning medals.
Yeah.
Then he called me, my president, is that true? Then I said, what? We have won 8 medals already. I said, yes, we are winning more. Jerome, it took the minister less than 20 minutes to drive from Pediasi to Legon.
To Legon, yeah. Okay.
By the time he got there, we had won about 19.
You know, and the wins you chalked changed the color of Ghana's position on the table.
I knew it would change.
It changed completely. And
I knew it would
arm
change.
wrestling was everywhere. But what do you think accounted for that incredible performance by your pullers?
So, consistent training. But the night before the event, the secretary from Africa, arm wrestling, he realized I was disturbed. So he came to me and said, my president, why are you worried? Then I said, I have fear. So he brought the entries. He said, here you win medal, here you win medal, here. So that night we had counted 21. So I started smiling. I wasn't even sure, but he told me you will win medals because he knew the strength of the team. And Jerome, we've been very, very consistent.
Yeah. So
every continental event we go.
You participate.
We participate.
So consistency has been very key. But unfortunately, time will not allow us to continue this conversation the way I would have wanted to. Definitely, we'll come back sometime later. But just before we go, I want to understand this. So where do we go from here? I mean, after the success in Africa, I know we're supposed to host the world event. I mean, whether we host it or not, what do you seek to achieve in the coming years?
Well, currently,
how do you build on the success you
currently have? We are preparing for the World Championship, maybe from PCG because I'm a son of PCG. people would want to support the team to travel. It's been very difficult, but people would want to support the team to travel. I'm sure when they reach out to you, Armwrestling will be very happy. We need support for the team to travel. But frankly, we look beyond the World Championship. Now, the 2027 Africa Games is our focus. We're also hoping to play in the Olympic Games. And I've said that if we want to win more medals in 2027, the work must begin now. I want to encourage participation. So the young man in Dansoman Emmanuel Presby, Medina Presby, Adenta Kanda, you never know. You never know. Because I had athletes from nowhere. A taxi driver decided to come and play arm wrestling. After Africa Games, he got some dollars. He's going to buy Uber. He's driving Uber.
That is a story we will want to listen to sometime.
A lot of the guys. An electrician. He's gotten a new container. He stuffed it. He's now okay.
Because of arm wrestling.
Because of arm wrestling.
Well, arm wrestling is doing so much for people in our communities. Unfortunately, this is all time will allow us on Pcgtv Sports Time with Jerome. We have been talking to Mr. Charles Osesibe of the Ghana Arm Wrestling Federation. He wears many caps from the world to Africa to the sports writers. I'm sure you've enjoyed this conversation. This is where we pull the curtains. Hopefully, next week we'll come your way with another exciting conversation on Pcgtv, where we say, in the light, there is light. Goodbye.
Pcgtv. In that light, there is light.
Facebook and YouTube at Pcgtv. Instagram, TikTok, and X at Pcgtv Official. Pcgtv. In thy light, there is light.
Pcgtv. In that light, there is light.